kind of secret place to work. And I needed a big enough surface. So this is going to be where I'm going to be working. And the first thing you're going to do is you're kind of working backwards with this quilt. You first need your back. Usually quilting, you start with your piecework and you've got a pattern and you have a size and then you fit your back. Because we don't have a pattern, we're going to just fit and piece on top of the back. And what I did was I scored really inexpensive twin sheet set. So this is just a twin sheet that I've laid out, and I'm going to fit the pieces right on here. I'm going to explain a little bit of the method to the design. This is kind of my anchor. You kind of need an anchor pattern or fabric, which is going to be like the main piece, and then we kind of work around the main piece. So as you can see, this is a fish fabric, and there's a lot of green and a lot of blue, so I had some little bits of yellow, which I might use here and there very sparingly, which is good because I only have a few pieces of that. Got some really nice denim. I also thought some homespun in navy, pulling the navy from here. And then I did find this eccentric fabric in the same theme. Now I'm gonna probably have to cut little areas that work better with the color scheme. And then I've got some neutrals, which I may or may not use, but you kind of want everything pulled out and ready to go. This is really nice, and even though it's a little bit floral, it's real subtle. You want some kind of negative, quiet areas in your design. Here's some nice green, which pulls out from some of the fish. Really great oxblood color. And then of course some browns. So depending on what your main focal point is, I would start there and then pick fabrics that kind of accent it. And then because this is the focal point, we're going to start with this first. So nearby I'm going to have a cutting mat, some scissors, and a rotary blade. And a ruler, and also like a square template in case I need it. Let's get cutting. Also, forgot to mention, you need some pins. You can see here I cut the main piece, and I'm going to kind of have it go flush to the side. So from here I'm going to kind of build out between triangles and squares and strips and eyeball it. I'm just going to lay stuff down. I don't know if you can see this, but this is that blue denim, right? So this is a typical quilter square, and instead of just cutting one for the area, I cut a handful as I'm there with the rotary blade. And it's just going to go it's going to piece a lot faster the more pieces you have kind of cut in the fabrics you're using. So as you cut one or two, try to get a handful more as you go and collect your pieces and have them organized in sections. Like this is a strip. Doing some mini sections, creating some triangle pieces with the fabrics I've chosen, and then just prepping different shapes nicely cut from really big to smaller, and even getting a couple of triangles here and there in case I find as I'm putting things together that that's what I need. Okay, so I've threaded a needle with a color that I would just never use on this quilt. So try to find something obnoxious that you can easily see. This is a bright yellow, I don't know if you can tell. And it's just a quick knot at the end, and I'm not even double stitching. And I'm gonna start over here. And it's just this, like, as if you were 5 years old. Think about like when you thought you were sewing when you were a little kid. It's a really loose stitch. This is the way my mother taught me. So if you seamstresses out there are like, well, that's not how you baste. First of all, I'm sorry. And secondly, I don't know, let us know in the comments how you baste. But basically, like, you're not doing a back stitch. You're just running the thread through like that. And they could be really big stitches. In fact, the looser they are, the easier it's going to be to take them out, because these aren't going to stay. These are going to act as what your pins are doing, but in a more sturdy fashion. And then once you stitch everything under the machine, see these big stitches? That's a basting stitch. So I'm going to go through all my piecework currently and just, I mean, this is like super fast stuff. It's sloppy, it's just keeping stuff together, and then I can rip out all the needles and use them to continue piecing. And that way you're not dealing with needles under the machine too. Now that we're in the home stretch of things, I've just sat on my bed and with all my pre-cut pieces, I've just been doing strips and sections, and I've been just basting as I'm going, and it's moving a lot faster now that I've kind of got the cadence and the hang of how the pieces are coming together. So, you know, not pinning and then basting. I'm actually basting, and I'm basting back to back. And I think what I'm going to do now, because of these outside sections, is I'm going to just sew these pieces separately, these rows, and then I'll add them to the main, to the middle section of the quilt. I'm going to start with those outside pieces that I basted already. And these I actually basted kind of with the right sides put together, so this should go rather quickly. I'm going to do the outside pieces, set them up around where they need to go, and then I'll work on the middle pieces. So I've got a navy blue thread, and I'm just going to start jamming. I've sewn this section. It went really fast because everything's all basted and ready to go. So now I'm just going to a quick snip here and there. You're going to rip out. Oh, of course nothing's going to come out easily. So I can show you how easy this all comes out. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, some of it may not be as easy to take out, but take out as much as you can. All right, everything's pieced. Believe it or not, I had a very late night last night, and it's all pieced together. My husband's birthday is tomorrow, so this is like a suicide mission. So, with the top done, I've put the bottom and laid it on my bedroom floor, and I put a layer of fiberfill on top evenly. It's up to you how thick you want to go. I didn't want to go too thick, actually. I just wanted one thin layer. So lay this out, and then we're going to put the top evenly over everything. And then I have safety pins nearby where I'm going to safety pin everything together so that nothing moves under the machine when I quilt it. Now you're probably wondering, what am I going to do with these edges? I'm actually not going to bind this because this is kind of the lazy person's quilt. where you just kind of do stuff, and it's your own design. It's all willy-nilly, and so I'm just going to clean up my edges and kind of hand stitch stuff closed at the end. So it's kind of against all quilters rules, I know. Please, quilters, don't go crazy commenting. I get it. It's not proper binding, but birthday's tomorrow, and I think my husband just won't, he'll just love what's here, and it won't be a big deal. So a blanket's a blanket, and love is in it. So anyway, so I'm going to even out the fiber fill, and then I'll show you how I safety pin everything together. All right, now that I've got everything trimmed out on the edges, I'm basically cinching everything together. I've got my safety pins, and you pull stuff even and taut, right? And you put a giant safety pin under all layers. You go, I don't know, every square or every other square, and you're gonna do the whole thing like that. And then you're gonna roll it on up, and then you're gonna put it under the machine, and you're gonna do your top stitching. As I pinned, I rolled and rolled and rolled up. So this is my giant roll. And I'm gonna bring this upstairs back to the sewing machine, and starting from the top, I'm just gonna kind of unroll it out, and I need to do some measuring, figuring out where my quilt stitches are going to go. That's my next step. So I did like 10-inch, every 10 inches I quilted a seam down, widthwise and lengthwise. So it's turning out really nice. And so now I'm just, rather than binding it, because Puppy's birthday's today, I'd like to give this to him after dinner, I'm just doing a quick stitch around the edge. I'm going to fold these in. And I'm going to stitch it closed. That's it. So hopefully he's gonna like it. We'll see.